He licks her foot. I'm not gonna mention the Kegel balls. There is nothing that is less sexy than taking a tampon out. Hey, Amelia. To absolutely nobody's shock, I'm sick again. So that's cool. Anyway, I read Grey, which is 50 Shades of Grey from Christian's perspective. It was as horrifying as you would expect it to be. As you may recall, I did read the original 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, so you could watch that video if you really, really wanted to. Would I advise that? No. That is literally the second video I had ever made. I had like a sheet of lined paper that had like quotes that I wanted to talk about on it. Nothing else. Maybe don't watch it. You have free will, so you can do whatever you want. This book is written in such a way that you do need to know the plot of the first book. Like, this does not hold up as a standalone piece of literature. Are we shocked? You know what? I'm just gonna try my best to give context as we go along. So I'm gonna actively say right here, right now, don't watch the first video. I'm gonna be open and vulnerable for a second. I buy all of my books secondhand. I found this at the thrift store, and I don't want to think about that too hard or else I will feel gross. But I did sanitize it, and I did put it in the freezer. Anyway, this is 50 Shades of Grey from Christian Grey's perspective. First of all, who asked for this book? Let me introduce you to what these tabs mean. The orange tabs, which as you can see is most of it, is anytime Christian Grey thought or said something that was so heinous that I cannot repeat it. The pink tabs is like grammatical errors, like maybe an editor could have helped. According to the acknowledgments of this book, there was an editorial team, but oh my god, they must have been reading this book with their eyes closed. Punctuation errors are the big one. Blue was plot. As you can see, not a lot of it. So the book opens with Christian having a dream from the perspective of his child self. Basically, his childhood was super abusive. Like, before he got adopted by his family, he was neglected and abused. So this is not a great, happy dream. And he wakes up and he's like, what possibly could this dream have meant? But like, listen, it doesn't take a genius to decode when you have a bad dream about your mother who was abusive, being abusive to you. I think maybe he has some issues from his childhood that are unresolved. And like, the dream wasn't even like a metaphor or like some like symbolism sprinkled in there. It was truly like just a retelling of an event from his childhood that was traumatic. Doesn't take a genius to figure out what it meant, you know? So basically what I'm thinking is he's probably stupid. Probably he's an idiot. I'm gonna read a paragraph to you just so that you can get a sense of like what this writing style is, what we're sort of in for the next 600 pages. Why is this book so goddamn long? Oh my good lord. I scowl at him as he turns and leaves. His parting words rub salt into my wounds because despite my heroic attempts during our workout today, my personal trainer has kicked my ass. Bastille is the only one who can beat me, and now he wants another pound of flesh on the golf course. I detest golf, but so much business is done on the fairways, I have to endure his lessons there too. And though I hate to admit it, playing against Bastille does improve my game. It's not well written. It truly is stream of consciousness, and then it was published. I'm like, wow, any argument for why this book could possibly exist is gone, because there is no insight. There is no like, we don't hear like. So in case you didn't know, Christian Grey is a billionaire. I'm gonna say straight up, point blank period, just so that nobody's confused about like me or my views on the world. There is straight up no ethical way to become a billionaire. To amass that amount of wealth, you have to be exploiting people. So this presents like a fun little problem for this book because we are really supposed to sympathize with Christian, I'm pretty sure, because he has got like the sad childhood and like whatever, except for he is a billionaire and I don't extend any sympathy to billionaires, actually. That's just not something that I am capable of. And the way that this is kind of explained is like his businesses are like helping the world, but also I don't know what he does, so I don't even know how that could be true. I have read the entire original 50 Shades of Grey trilogy and this book, and I still have no idea what his actual job is. So Christian meets Anastasia. Basically, Anna is at his office to do an interview for him for the school paper. It was supposed to be her roommate Catherine Kavanaugh, Kate, but she's sick. And the only reason Christian said yes to this interview is because Kate's dad is like the owner of like a media company and he's super rich, and this was like a favor to him. So he's really angry that it's not Kate because he can't like cash in on that favor now, I guess. Anna quite literally falls into his office. A commotion at the door brings me to my feet as a whirl of long chestnut hair, pale limbs, and brown boots dives headfirst into my office. Repressing my natural annoyance at such clumsiness, I hurry over to the girl who has landed on her hands and knees on the floor. Clasping slim shoulders, I help her to her feet. So his first thought when he sees her is like, it would be cool to hit her in a sexual way. That is hateful and heinous. And I have a pull quote for this, but I actually can't. I can't say these words. I cannot put this out in the internet forever. So immediately, in his brain, Christian is like, she's dressed ugly, I hate her outfit, like, what a slob. Okay, Mr. Fashion, Mr. fucking billionaire with all your goddamn clothes, he wears the same thing every day, so I don't know that he's really one to be, like, passing judgment on someone else's fashion choices, but, like, whatever. The interview is going very badly. Christian, in his little brain, is being a little perv, and this is where this first little editorial, I will say, quirk comes in, and that is, I straight up cannot tell the difference in this book between, like, speaking and thinking and, like, if it is a mistake, because sometimes the thoughts are italicized, but then also sometimes the thoughts are not italicized, and then sometimes there will be a sentence of dialogue that is in quotations, and then the next sentence seems to continue the thought of the dialogue, but it is no longer in quotations. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a thought, like he's finishing his sentence in his brain, but then the person who he's talking to responds. It must be a mistake, right? Or, I don't get it. I don't know. It happens all the time in this book. It makes me so confused. And also, like, it feels very careless, in my opinion. Like, maybe, did we try? Sorry, E.L. James, did we try? During this interview, Anna asks him if he's gay. What he thinks in response to that is, like, that he wants to, hit her in a sexual way, and then have sex with her. I hate it here. And I'm regretting every single choice I've ever made in my entire life to end up in this moment where I'm saying these words right now. So Anna leaves, and immediately Christian calls his, like, security guy, who's his, like, resident stalker. This guy is crazy. His name is Walsh, and he's like, I need you to find out everything you possibly can about this girl. So he finds her birthday, her address, her place of work, her social security number, her phone number, even, like, how much money is in her bank account. He's stalking her. Also, terrifying that information is just, like, out there. Using this information that was obtained in a stalker-ish manner, Christian goes to the hardware store where Anna works. He lives in Seattle. Anna right now is going to the University of Washington, parentheses, Vancouver, and she lives in Portland, I'm pretty sure. Which, like, Portland, Oregon? I thought this book took place in Washington, but maybe not. Christian lives in Seattle. Anna lives in Portland. That's, like, not close. When he shows up to her place of work, it is fully because he is stalking her. There's no reason for him to be there. Cool. Love that. Love this energy. And during this, like, encounter at the hardware store, Christian asks Anna how the article is going. And she's like, well, Kate is kind of sad because we don't have any original pictures. And he's like, oh, cool, like, we could do a photo shoot, like, I'm around tomorrow if you want to just, like, get some pictures. But really what he means in his brain is that he just wants to see her again because he really likes her. But, like, he just thinks she's hot and sexy. He doesn't actually really like her, but, like, he really likes her. It's the whole thing. That's, like, his whole internal battle in this book is, like, do I really like her or do I just think she's hot and sexy? I find men so exhausting. So he gives her his business card that has his cell phone number on it, and he leaves. Anna does not call right away, which, like, kind of freaks him out. But then eventually she does call, and they set up this photo shoot. They set up the photo shoot for 9:30 the next morning at the hotel that Christian is staying in. So the next morning it's time for the photo shoot. Christian gets up super early, goes for a run. And he runs a lot in this book. And every time he goes for a run, we are treated to what he is listening during said run. And so for this run, he's listening to Moby. I had never heard of Moby before, but I've listened to some Moby music because I'm trying to understand what the heck is going on. And it's like electronica, like dance, but then there's also some like lo-fi, like vibey music. It's not personally like my taste, although I have often said, and I will stand by this, that like I think I like all music. Like there's some music that I like more than other music, but like you put music in front of me, I'll be like, hey, what is this music? That's pretty good. So like it's not something that like I would choose to put on, but like if someone was playing it, I'd be like, that's cool. I love that you love that. Anyway, Moby. And it definitely to me doesn't feel like running music. Like that's not the kind of music I don't run. But like that doesn't feel like the kind of music that I would want to listen to while I was working out. But again, I'm not him. Okay, the photographer for the photo shoot is one of Anna's friends. His name is Jose Rodriguez. And this is Christian's first thought upon entering this room and seeing a male photographer. This is Jose Rodriguez, our photographer, Anastasia says, and her face lights up as she introduces him. Shit, is this her boyfriend? Rodriguez blooms under Anna's sweet smile. Are they frickin'? Are they frickin'? Also, this isn't important, but he did shower right before this photo shoot, and he didn't dry his hair, so he just is like wet hair. He's just gonna look like a wet rat for the photo shoot. Like, would it kill you to put in a little bit of effort? So after the photo shoot, Christian asks Anna to go to coffee. She low-key tries to reject him. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't. I have to like drive everybody home. Which like, I feel like I can tell a lie when I hear one. If I were to invite someone somewhere and they're like, I can't. We all carpooled, so we gotta go together. I'd be like, okay, cool. She doesn't wanna hang out with me. Like, I get it. I can read the room. But he is like, no, it's okay. Like, my personal assistant can drive everybody home, and now you have to go to coffee with me. So that's how they end up on this coffee date. Now, a fun fact about me, a little bit of personal lore. I have a really bad memory, which is sometimes, not gonna lie, pretty nice, because like when I read something, like I absorb it and I like it, but it like takes a lot for something to really stick with me. So a lot of the stuff I read it and I like it, and then I kind of like forget the minutia of the plot, which is kind of nice, because then like if I really like something but I like forget the plot, I'll read it again and it's like reading it for the first time. It's amazing. But that also means that after I read the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, famously books that I did not care about and did not care to remember, I promptly forgot pretty much every part of the plot. So reading this was honestly kind of like reading it for the first time. However, there are two things in this book that will stick with me forever till the day I die, that are so heinous that they are burned into my soul forever. And this is one of them. During this coffee date, Anna's like, oh, I don't really drink coffee. The way she drinks her tea is twining English breakfast tea, one dunk. That's hateful. I simply will never forget. The way that Anastasia Steele drinks her tea is one dunk. That is hands down perhaps the most disgusting thing in this entire book. What do you mean? Be better. So on their date, the first thing Christian says to Anna is like, is that guy your boyfriend? And she's like, no, I don't have a boyfriend. And he's like, well, you seem really nervous around him. You kind of seem really nervous around men. And she's like, well, I'm mostly just nervous around you because I find you really intimidating. And he's like, good, you should find me intimidating. They don't seem to have much chemistry. I'm gonna say it, especially seeing it from his perspective. There's not a lot of banter. There's not a lot of like good vibes. Like it really doesn't seem like they're interested in each other that much. So the important things that Christian learns about Anna during their date. A couple things. First of all, she's romantic. She really wants to like travel to England because that's where all the books are from, which like, same girl, you and me both. And the other thing that he learns about her is that she wears a lot of jeans, which he does not care for. He does not like a girl wearing jeans. In his brain, he's like, those are actually non-negotiables for me. Like, I can't do someone who's into romance. I can't do something who's something. Well, that's kind of the vibe he brings into the relationship, if I'm gonna be so honest. He's like, I can't be with someone who wears pants. I can't be with someone who likes romance. So that kind of like rules Anna out as a romantic partner option. Do you always wear jeans? I ask. Mostly, she says, and it's two strikes against her. Incurable romantic who only wears jeans. I like my women in skirts. I like them accessible. So as they're leaving the coffee shop, Anna almost gets hit by a bike. Christian like pulls her out of the way and she kind of like falls into his arms and she's like looking up at him and he's like, oh my God, she's definitely like wants me to kiss her, but I can't do that because like I'm repressed and I'm not good for her. Anastasia, I whisper, you should steer clear of me. I'm not the man for you. And obviously, because she just, like, low-key made a move, and, well, she did not make a move. She made a move in her heart by, like, looking at him like she wanted him to kiss her. So she's, like, a little bit embarrassed because she just got rejected, and that's, like, that hurts your ego a little bit. Christian in his brain is like, why could she possibly be mad at me? I hate him. She's not mad at you. She doesn't know you, but, like, she's, like, a little bit, her ego's a little bit bruised, and she's a little bit hurt, and then also just, like, also, why do you care what she thinks about you? You don't know her. Okay, so he continues to stalk Anna, and he sends her like a really fancy book right after her last exam as like a graduation present. This is another instance in which I think an editor who was actually doing their job and not like falling asleep on the keyboard would have been beneficial, because I'm gonna read this sentence and I want you to tell me if you hear anything a little bit is a little bit iffy to you. As I shave, the asshole in the mirror stares back at me with cool gray eyes. It cannot be just me. You hear that too, right? It sounds like he's shaving his butthole, right? I just think that sentence could have been worded a bit better to more effectively communicate what you wanted to say. So Christian is still hanging out in Portland, but his brother Elliot drives down to visit him. They go mountain biking. Fun fact about Elliot, he is like a full womanizer. Like, he's always sleeping with different women. He never like gets involved with anybody for longer than like 1 or 2 nights, and this is very important for us to know. So they go mountain biking. Cool. And that night, Anna drunk calls Christian to ask about the book that he sent her unprompted. And he hears on this phone call that she's drunk, and he starts absolutely freaking out. He's like, where are you? How are you gonna get home? And she's like, haha, I'm in Portland. Like, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Because she doesn't know that he's still also in Portland. So she hangs up on him. And Christian decides he's gonna go find her with his brother Elliot. So he tracks her and shows up at the bar that she's at. Anna is with Kate. Elliot and Kate kind of like hit it off. So they start like dancing and they're like hanging out. Christian goes outside and he sees Anna and Jose the photographer. And Jose is like kind of making some advances, trying to make a pass at Anna, like kind of forcing himself on her. And she's like, stop, like, please go away. And like, he's not listening. Christian steps in and is like, I believe the lady said stop. I feel so complicated about this because like, cool, thanks for helping her not get assaulted. That's cool. But I was like, that's so cringe. That's such a cringe way to say it. It's like, I believe the lady said stop. And also, let's not pretend like Christian Grey is some saint. Like, he is, I would say, far worse than that in terms of crossing boundaries. So his I believe the lady said stop feels really disingenuous when you like know him as a person, you know? Sounds like I know him personally. I don't, thank God. He's not real. So Anna vomits like a lot. Christian like brings her back to his hotel room and she falls asleep in the car, and then he like carries her up to the hotel room and she's still asleep. And while she is asleep, he takes off her pants. I would be so livid if someone did that to me. Like, let me sleep in jeans. We've all done it. It's not the end of the world. She's already asleep. Why are you taking her pants off? That's so like violating. So Christian calls his assistant and he's like, can you buy some clothes for this woman? These are her sizes. Anna wakes up and she's like, did we boink? Like, why are my pants off? And he's like, no, I prefer my women conscious. Anna takes a shower. When she gets out of the shower, she's like, why did you send me this book? I don't know this book. I've never read this book and I don't actually remember what it's called, but it's like a book about, I guess, like a woman and this guy's like a bad influence on her. And so Anna's like, why did you send me this book? And Christian's like, I don't do romance. I'm scary and damaged. And during this conversation, she's like biting her lip and Christian is like, I'd like to bite that lip. And Anna's like, then why don't you? And he goes, because I'm not going to touch you, Anastasia. Not until I have your written consent to do so. Girl, be so for real. What the hell does that mean? I'd be so scared. So he decides that after Anna is finished with work that day, they're going to helicopter down to Seattle and talk about like stuff or whatever. You know, like talk about sort of like having a relationship. Here's the thing that's really boring about this book is that when they're not together, Christian is just either doing like creepy stalker shit or he's like doing boring business stuff that like I don't care about and also is so unclear. He's like sending emails and doing meetings and I'm like, I don't know what you do. I don't care about what you do. And that's like most of this book. So that evening he picks her up from work and they take a helicopter over to Seattle and they're like holding hands and shit, which is crazy because Christian is all like repressed and whatever and he's like super anti-touching and yet he's chill with hand holding. That could never be me and my anti-hand holding rhetoric. Don't hold hands with me. So they're in this helicopter and already Christian in his brain is like, I like her a lot more than I usually like people. Like, this is kind of crazy for me. She's so special and different. Like, maybe I could try to like be a romance guy. So they get into his apartment, which is like big and fancy because he's super rich because he's a billionaire. So the reason why he can tell that he likes her more than he likes other people is because he wants to take her gliding, which is like one of his rich people hobbies. I'm gonna be so for real, when I read the first original trilogy and also this book and he talked about gliding, I pictured base jumping. I don't know if you're familiar, but base jumping is an extreme sport where you wear like a flying squirrel type looking suit and you just like jump off of cliffs. Now don't quote me on this because I don't really know the ins and outs of base jumping, but I'm pretty sure that like every person who has done base jumping at like a high professional level is like dead now because it's so dangerous. And also I think it's really silly. The picture I had in my brain of like billionaire sex icon Christian Grey like base jumping in this flying squirrel outfit, that made me chuckle. Gliding is in fact different. It's just like flying around in a shitty plane with no engine, I think. And Christian is like, I want to take her gliding because that's one of my favorite things to do. And like, I want to share her something that I like with her. So they get to his big fancy apartment, billionaire fucking apartment. He's like, you have to sign an NDA before we talk about anything. And she's like, what happens if I don't sign this NDA? And he's like, well, you'll have to leave. And she's like, okay, I'll sign it. Like, I don't even have to read it. That is not how contracts work. Please read them. You will never catch me signing anything without reading it so in depth and like really truly understanding what it says because I am so paranoid. I read the terms of services. I want to know what I'm getting myself into. I'm scared. So this could never be me. Christian is like, girl, you should read a contract if you're going to sign it. And she was like, well, it doesn't even matter because like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Like, who would I tell? And then she's like, does this mean you're going to make love to me tonight, Christian? And he says,
I don't make love. I fuck hard.
Like, actually, I cannot take this seriously. And I feel deep concern for anybody who is taking this seriously. I think the 50 Shades of Grey boom that happened in the, like, 2011 to 2015 era of, like, middle-aged straight women should be studied. You have to be so repressed to find this sexy. There are better romance novels out there than... This is not a romance novel. This is smut. Also, Call Me Crazy... Bring back bodice rippers. I just want straight women to know that they don't have to settle for this. There's better literature out there than this behavior. In this year of 2025, like, we understand that. But then, honestly, do we? Because, like, I don't have TikTok, but some of the stuff that some of the girlies are reading on there, oh my God. I just don't get it. Okay, so Christian is like, I want to show you my playroom. And Anna's like, is that where you keep your Xbox? And he's like, no, there's no Xbox, there's no PlayStation, it's for like sex. This is so unserious. This is comedy. If I ever got the chance to talk to E.L. James, author of the great literary works that are the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy and also Grey, I would need to ask her, like, when you were writing this, were you like, this is so silly? But like, were you writing this and being like, this is hot? Because if that is the truth, I have a lot of follow-up questions. Christian shows Anna his sex room. His interpretation of this situation is that she's being like really calm and unreadable. Having read the other books and like knowing her POV, she's freaking out. I think he's just like really bad at reading people. And then he shows her the submissive bedroom and he's like, this will be your room. And she's like, wait a minute, I'm moving in with you? And he's like, oh no, like just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My guy, that is almost half of the week. That's like split custody. And might I remind you, they don't know each other. So they go downstairs to like discuss the particulars of this arrangement over food. And they're talking about like boundaries and preferences and stuff. Christian is like, well, when you have had sex, what are some things that you have enjoyed? And she's like, well, I don't know, because I've never had sex. And Christian is like, what? You're a virgin? The value that we as a society place on virginity is made up, and we all know this. This book in particular is so bad for that, because he's like sort of like possessive over her virginity, and he's like, I own that part of her, and it is so gross. Not only is he surprised that she's still a virgin, he's straight up furious, which is terrifying. And he's like, I can't believe you're 21 and you've never had sex, as though that is like ancient, which it's not. Christian decides he's going to break her in. I shit you not. Those are the words that this book uses. So they boink. He licks her foot. Hashtag never forget. His inner monologue while they are boinking is as heinous as you would assume it is. Oh my God, I forgot about this. I'm not going to say the word because I don't like how it sounds coming out of my mouth. Miss Steele is a carnal creature. She will be a joy to train. My ween twitches in agreement. What is this? Also, in his inner monologue, he's calling her a female. He's like, this female. Men who call women female, girl, run. You are in danger. And this is not like a revolutionary thought. This is something that we all know. So the next morning, they boink again. Okay, lifting my hips, I grab my peanuts. I want you to become well acquainted on first name terms, if you will, with my favorite, most cherished part of my body. I'm very attached to this. What? What the hell? What the hell? We took a sharp left turn in a crazy town. Oh my God. Makes me uncomfy. Let's go. So to clarify, Anna still has not said yes to the whole like submissive thing. And he's like, please say yes, please, 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 please say yes, please. And then he's like, well, do you trust me? Which, to be clear, not consent. To be like, do you trust me? And then just like do whatever you want. That's not how that works. And then he ties her hands together and they boink. Tell me why this man is licking inside her belly button. That's weird. So they are boinking. Christian's mom shows up. She ends up meeting Anna and she invites them both to like family dinner. And Christian is like, no. But in his brain, he's like, wait a minute, that like actually probably wouldn't even be the end of the world like if she came to family dinner. But to his mom, he's like, no, thank you. Like that's not happening. Christian drives Anna back to Portland and they stop for nettle soup over dinner. Nope, it's lunch. Over lunch. No, actually it might be dinner. Over the meal that they're eating. Christian is casually trauma dumping about his life and his past. He's like, one of my mother's friends seduced me when I was 15. She had very particular tastes. I was her submissive for 6 years. And obviously Anna is like, hey, what? You were being groomed. And he's like, no, like it actually saved my life. Like I probably wouldn't have made it to adulthood if I hadn't been groomed by my mom's best friend. Okay, that's cool. That's cool and awesome. Anna doesn't have a computer, which is crazy because it's fully 2011. We had computers then. So she's like, I can't research your like BDSM lifestyle because what am I supposed to do? Go to the library? No. What am I supposed to do? Borrow roommate's computer? No. Christian buys her and sends her a BlackBerry and a laptop. And thus starts the email sexting. Christian Grey signs his email sexting with his full corporate email signature. It's like CEO of Grey Holding Enterprises. And Anna is like kind of pissed that Christian gave her a computer. And he's like, I don't understand. Like, why could she be mad about this? Like, I'm being kind. I'm being nice. So most of this book is Christian doing like 1 second of work and then like fucking off to do whatever he wants. And nobody cares. And what I think I'm learning about this is that like billionaires' jobs are not real. And also, what the hell is a CEO? What are you doing day to day? I say you as though you're a CEO. We're not CEOs. He goes for another run. This time he's listening to the Foo Fighters. His taste in music is insane. His job, let's talk about it. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of like important to the plot. I would say it's tangentially important to the plot. Basically, his company has to send something somewhere. and they're looking for a brownfield site to send something to, or maybe to build something on. I don't know. But a brownfield site, I had to Google it, is basically like a field, like a brown field. Let's Google it so I can give you a for real answer.
What is a brownfield site?
Let's go to this Wikipedia page. Love Wikipedia. Brownfield is previously developed land that has been abandoned or underused, which may carry pollution or risk of pollution from industrial use. I don't know why he's looking for that, but it's to like send something somewhere. Anyway, the brownfield land that they are looking to use for his company is in Detroit. And that's not good for him because Christian has a lot of trauma from Detroit. So Detroit is famously in Michigan. Every person I've ever met from Michigan does have like sort of a Midwestern accent. In my heart, canonically, Christian Grey has a Midwestern accent. Now that makes this book almost bearable. Christian and Anna are emailing. Every email that Anna sends Christian into a full-on, like, crash-out mode. Listen, we've all been there. Sometimes someone sends you, I mean, I'm not 100 years old, so I'm texting people. But sometimes someone sends you a text message and you're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what you mean, and now you're freaking out. But I crash out in, like, a depression way. Christian crashes out in, like, a violence kind of way. Basically, Anna is researching BDSM, and she emails him and she's like, this shit's crazy, like, it was nice knowing you. And Christian is like, what the heck does she mean by that? She's gonna leave me? So he shows up at her house and oh my god, he ties her hands to her bed and again is like, do you trust me? Which again is not informed consent, like in any way. So they boink. He spits wine into her mouth. That is just only backwash. So when he leaves, Anna sends him an email that has her notes on the contract. She read through the entire contract, the sex contract, not the NDA. She read through the entire contract. She has like notes about things that she doesn't agree with or things that she wants taken out of the contract. And then the 11-page contract is included in full in the book with no like commentary or anything. One of the rules is the submissive will not snack between meals with the exception of fruit, which is hateful. Let a girl snack. Also, it's weird because Christian is like really weird about food and he's like, it's weird when Anna's not finishing her meal, and he also like hates waste because of his past of not having enough. Oh my god, go to therapy, please. Let a bitch snack. So by email, Anna goes point by point and is like, basically, I don't want to do any of this. I don't feel comfortable with all of this. Christian is like, okay, well, let's have a dinner meeting on Wednesday and we can talk about it and like talk about all of it, go through it together, like see what's going on. Time jump, it's Wednesday. They're in the back room of this like fancy restaurant and they're talking about the contract. And Anna is like, bad bitch, this is not a legally enforceable contract, right? And he's like, yeah, but like I wouldn't sue you though. Why don't you trust me? Can you blame her for not trusting you? You're a little weird. You're a little strange. Why is he so pissy? Why is he such a negative Nancy? So they're talking through this contract and Anna's like, these are hard limits for me. Like, I don't want to be suspended from the ceiling. I don't want to be this, that, the other. And he goes, well, okay, my hard limit is you're not allowed to touch me at all in any way, shape, or form. Thank you. And then he asks her to stay over and she's like, if I'm not allowed to touch you, I don't want to stay over. And this makes him, and this makes him angry, like very angry. And so she's like, I need some space to like think about everything, which is so fair. So she goes home. And then Christian like calls and texts her kind of incessantly being like, did you make it home safe? Are you home alive? Are you okay? And she doesn't respond, which also makes him very angry. So a couple days later, perhaps the next day, it's Anna's graduation day. Christian is giving the like big speech at her graduation day. They write out his entire speech. Guess what? I don't care. Anna's friend / roommate Kate introduces Christian to Anna's dad. And she's like, this is Anna's boyfriend. And Christian is in his brain bouncing back and forth between freaking out over being called Anna's boyfriend and being like, she's so hot and sexy in that dress. She's so hot. I just want to touch her. So we are 250 pages into this book and we have still not settled the whole sex contract thing. Just give it a rest. Like, clearly the contract is not working. So like maybe try some other method of open and honest communication. So they're kind of stuck on like soft limits. And Anna is like, no, thank you. Don't want to be suspended from the ceiling. That's not my idea of a good time. And then she's also like, a hard limit for me is no caning. I don't want to be caned. Christian is like, sorry, girl boss. That's actually like kind of part of the deal. But I feel like this is not how conversations around consent should work. If someone's like, this is a hard no, then you gotta respect that. And that goes for like, I would say most of life also. Like if someone is like, this is my hard boundary, you don't get to be like, but what if it wasn't though? Anyway, they bang and he spanks her, and then he leaves. And in the car, Christian sets up an appointment with his gynecologist to get Anna on birth control. The fact that this dude has a go-to gyno is a little nuts. Anna either calls or emails him, and she's like, oh, no, I think Kate calls him and is like, I don't know what you did to her, but she's really upset. And so he shows back up at her house, and he's like, why are you so sad? And she's like, well, you spanked me, and I didn't love it. And he's like, well, how did it make you feel? And she was like, it made me feel confused. He tells her, he's like, you thought it was sexy. My guy, she did not say that. And then in his brain, his little italics, he goes, you have an inner freak, Anna. I know it. She's like, can you please just stay with me? And he's like, sure. He's like, you have to lie on your side and face away from me. You're not allowed to touch me. And he has good dreams, which is crazy for him because he usually has nightmares. And also, he sleeps in until 7:30, and he's like, damn, I slept in late. That's late for you? Oh my God. So they have a post-sexual spanking email exchange. She's talking about it, and she's like, yeah, I felt really weird about it. And he's like, did you actually feel weird, or did you just like think that you should feel weird? Do you really feel like this, or do you think you ought to feel like this? Two very different things. If that is how you feel, do you think you could try to embrace these feelings and deal with them? For me, oh my God, I just don't like him. And they keep emailing about it while he's at work. And he's using like these big words like a loser, like, oh, sorry, somebody got thesaurus for Christmas. Okay. So Anna is moving to Seattle because she graduated, and she's trying to get a publishing job. That's like her chosen field. Christian asks his stalker security guy to find her new address so that he can send her rosé and a balloon shaped like a helicopter. Okay, boy. That is such a boy thing to do. Sorry, send flowers or like a housewarming gift. Remember when Anna accidentally met Christian's mom, and she was like, you should come to dinner, and Christian was like, no thank you. But then Christian's brother Elliot is starting to date Kate, famously Anna's best friend, and he invited Kate to come to the family dinner. So now Christian has to bring Anna, or else he'll feel really weird about it, and like Anna will feel bad, and it's like a whole thing. Just as a little check-in as to where we are timeline wise, this book started on Monday, May 9th, 2011, and now it is Saturday, May 28th. It's not even been a whole month. It's been 2 weeks and some change. So he goes for another run, shocker. This time he's listening to Shake Your Hips by the Rolling Stones, which not a running song. That song does not have running vibes. And he runs to Anna's house, her new house, just to see if she's there. He's literally being a stalker. It's the next day. It's Sunday now, the 29th. Sunday, the evening of this day is family dinner day. But in the morning, Anna comes over to his house so that the traveling gyno can come and prescribe her birth control. And they're gynoing, and Christian really wants to watch because he's like, this is gonna be hot and sexy, but he can't because he thinks it's gonna be weird if he watches, which rare moment of self-awareness for my icon Christian Grey. It would be weird if you watched her get gynoed. Sex room time. He takes her in there. Just for everyone's knowledge, she still has not signed the sex contract. They're having sex in the sex room, and he's wearing low-rise jeans, and they bang to choral music, and she's blindfolded. Cool. And she's also tied up in cable ties. And then after all that, they go to family dinner. An important piece of information. What the hell? What the hell was that noise? This is important about family dinner. Anna decided not to wear underwear to the family dinner. And that is not a choice I would have made for myself, but so cool and liberated that she did that. Nothing but love and light to you, my icon. So the people who are at this family dinner, it is Christian's mom and dad, and his sister Mia, who's like a socialite who went to pastry school in Paris and is back because she hated it, and Christian's brother Elliot, and Kate. They might be dating. Okay, so they're vibing, they're hanging out at dinner, and someone, I don't remember who, is like, so Anna, like, what are you up to for the next little bit? And Anna's like, oh yeah, like I was actually thinking about visiting my mom in Georgia next week. And Christian is so angry. So he's like, I'm gonna take you on a tour of the house now. He takes her to the boathouse. He goes, oh my God, I want you and I want you now. And if you're not going to let me spank you, which you deserve, I'm going to frick you on the couch this minute. So they boink. Cool. I'm having such a good time, and I love that I read this book. Christian's sister shows up and is like, hey, like, you should come back to dinner. Another grammatical error, I do believe. So the sentence is, Mom, I give her a quick peck on the cheek. Thank you for inviting Anna. It's been a revelation. There are quotation marks around mom. There are not quotation marks around thank you for inviting Anna to dinner. It's been a revelation. But I feel like there should be, right? So Taylor, who is Christian's personal assistant / driver, he's driving Anna and Christian home from family dinner, and they're yapping about their feelings. Christian is really annoyed because she's talking about going to Georgia and how she needs like some space away from him to like think about everything and like come to a decision herself. And he, for the life of him, does not understand why she could possibly need space. He's like, but you said you would try to like do the whole submissive thing. And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of having second thoughts. And he doesn't get it. She's like, I want more, like an actual relationship. And he's like, okay, I'll try. You should come stay with me tonight. And she's like, hell yeah. And I'll also sign the contract because you said you would try. Christian is like, no, actually, I think you should go on this trip to Georgia and you should think about it. And so that you like come to an actual decision for yourself. He goes, I want her to do this willingly. I don't want to force this on her. Well, part of me doesn't, the rational part. So what part about her saying, I really am not interested in this. I don't want this. I'm not comfortable with this. And Christian being like, please though, please. What part of that is letting her come to this decision willingly? I'm not gonna mention the Kegel balls, but I just want you to know that they are there and they are part of this. And we're moving on. We're moving forward. None of us need this in our lives. But I do need to bring attention to the opening line of this chapter. Her sharp intake of breath is music to my dick. So they fall asleep together and he has another good dream. Who cares? Not me. He invites Anna to come with him to a gala next weekend. Then she invites him. I think it's here. I actually don't remember when this happened. Remember Jose? Well, he's having like a photography show. And he invited Anna, and Anna was like, can Christian come with me? She invites Christian to this. And then she goes to Georgia. So she's trying to buy her plane ticket. My God, she speaks like a robot. He's like, did you buy your ticket yet? And she's like, no, I'll buy it when I get home over the internet. First of all, again, it is 2011, 1 year after the Eeny Meeny by Sean Kingston and Justin Bieber music video was released. So we definitely had access to the internet at this time. So why are you talking about it like it doesn't exist? Like you're a robot. He offers to let her take his private jet. Okay, 1%. I love when we protect the environment and also have a private jet. And she's like, no, I actually don't want to take your private jet. Christian calls his stalker security guy and is like, I need to know what flight she's on. I need to know the flight number. I need to know all the information. He goes, my cunning plan is falling into place. Why does he talk like a supervillain? So his plan is to sneaky upgrade her from economy to first class, even though she did not give him her flight information on purpose because she didn't want him to have that information. And he's like, no, I'll find it and I will upgrade her. Listen, don't stalk me. But if a man wanted to upgrade my flights, it's not my business. If you want to upgrade me to first class, hey, who am I to argue? So the old lady who groomed and assaulted Christian, her name is Elena. She's emailing him. She's like, let's have dinner. Like, I heard you have a new girlfriend. Like, what's up with that? And he's like super not into that because he has Anna now. I gotta say, solidly 30% of this book is just like emails back and forth. There will be pages at a time that is just like emails with maybe one line of like a thought put in between them. But it feels really lazy. It's lazy writing. Let's call it what it is. And also boring. So Anna checked into her flight. The person is like, you've been upgraded to first class. Congratulations. So Anna emails Christian and is like, thanks for upgrading me to first class. I got a really hot and sexy massage from a guy named Jean-Paul in the first class lounge. And Christian is so jealous that he emails her back. Dear Miss Steele, I know what you're trying to do, and trust me, you've succeeded. Next time you'll be in the cargo hold, bound and gagged in a crate. Believe me when I say that attending to you in that state will give me much more pleasure than merely upgrading your ticket. Mom, pick me up, I'm scared. What? That's horrific. So Anna emails him back and is like, hey, I actually can't tell if you're joking, and that is terrifying. And then she gets on her flight, so he can't respond. After she lands, she sends him another email, because this book is only emails. And she's like, hey, when you buy me things like a computer and a BlackBerry, and also he bought her a car and like upgrade my plane ticket, she's like, it makes me feel like you're paying me to have sex with you, and I don't love that vibe. And then she goes, you were right when you said I didn't have a submissive bone in my body, and I agree with you now. Having said that, I want to be with you, and if that's what I have to do, I would like to try, but I think I'll suck at it and end up black and blue, and I don't relish that idea at all. That's not really giving like, I'm consenting to this because I really want to. It's kind of giving like, you've given me no other choice, so I guess, you know, you've asked me enough times that like I'm just sort of gonna give in. So in response to this, he in his brain is like, I'd never hurt her physically or emotionally. How can she think that? I just want to push her limits and see what she will and won't do. That's not okay. So they're sexting over email again. Again, his work email with his full professional goddamn email signature. I have to say something. This may be controversial, but the whole like sexting over email, it's really giving millennial. It is really millennial core, which was the AOL generation. Because I know y'all were sexting over email. Sorry. Hey, sorry. Sue me. So somewhere in these emails, she's like, gosh, I really wish you were here. Which, to be clear, not an invitation to fly to Georgia. Just so we're all on the same page. While Anna's out of town, Christian goes and has dinner with Elena, the woman who groomed him. And Elena at dinner is like, you should go see Anna in Georgia. In my opinion, this is my fan theory, she's giving him bad advice on purpose. She's trying to ruin his relationship. So Christian flies to Georgia, and when he lands, he calls his assistant and he's like, can you set up for tomorrow morning? I want to go gliding with Anna, because this is his version of like doing more. She's like, hey, I would love some like bare minimum, like some humanity, some kindness, and I would love to like maybe have some romance. And his idea of that is to do a dangerous activity that he enjoys. I don't even think he knows what Anna's hobbies are. I had a crisis recently. I was like, I don't think I have any hobbies, which that's not true. I do have hobbies. I like to read. That's a hobby, but that's not like a social hobby. Like I would love to have a hobby that involves talking to other people, because how do you make friends in your 20s? And I think the answer is hobbies, but if you have any ideas of hobbies that I could start. I also just think I'm like not good at making friends because I don't like to get to know people. I just like to already know people. So anyway, Christian's hobby, maybe I could do rock climbing. That could be a hobby. Anyway, Christian is staying at this fancy hotel in Georgia, and he's at the hotel bar and he's drinking alone. He has not told Anna that he's in Georgia yet. And then he turns and guess who he sees at the hotel bar? Anna and her mom. So he's sitting at the bar watching her. He sees that she orders a Cosmopolitan. Instead of like, I guess going over to her or like maybe calling her, the way that he decides to tell her that he is in Georgia is he emails her, how many Cosmos you gonna drink tonight? Clap if you're scared. Christian meets Anna's mom and she invites him over for dinner tomorrow night. Anna is, during this whole conversation, clearly very angry. During this interaction, seeing it from his perspective makes it so much worse because he's literally in his brain, he's like, I'm going to manipulate her into being less angry at me. Anna's mom goes to the bathroom and Christian and Anna have this argument about Elena. Anna is like, she groomed you, she abused you, I don't want you to see her. And Christian is like, no, she like introduced me to the lifestyle, but she really saved me. Like I was on a really destructive path before I met her. So Christian goes up to his hotel room and then Anna shows up at his hotel room. They boink. So they're trying to boink. Anna is on her period. And in this book, Christian sensually pulls out her tampon. Okay. There is nothing in this world that is less sexy than taking a tampon out. Okay, no, we can recover from this. We can move on. Like, after they boink, they, like, talk a bit more. I don't care, okay? They're both weird. I'm over both of their bullshits. Also, they're constantly sharing one toothbrush. Which, first of all, Christian Grey, you are a billionaire. Can you not afford one more toothbrush? I don't think sharing a toothbrush is sexy. I think it's really gross. I don't want your dirty shit-ass fucking plaque in my mouth. I don't care how much I like somebody. I am not sharing a toothbrush. I don't know how often you replace it. I don't know, like, where you keep it. Also, you're at a hotel, just call down and be like, hey, I forgot my toothbrush. They will give you one for free. So the next morning, they're going soaring. I did picture them in those, like, funny little suits like Vector from Despicable Me. His, like, excuse for why it's not weird that he's in Georgia, actually, is that he's gonna try to find a different brownfield site that's not in Detroit to do his business on. So he goes to a business meeting. At this business meeting, his security guard calls him and is like, Leila broke into your house and tried to kill herself in front of your housekeeper. We haven't spoken about Leila yet in this book. Basically, Leila is one of Christian's former submissives. Last time he knew, she was like married and like living in Connecticut and having a great time. So he's like, why would she show up to my house and try to kill herself in front of my housekeeper? That makes no sense. So he's like, I need to go home and figure this out. So he has to cancel on dinner with Anna and her mom, and he heads back to Seattle. In Seattle, he pretends to be Leila's brother so that he can sneak into the hospital and see her because it's like immediate family only. And the doctor says, I'm afraid I don't know. She managed to give us the slip. That is not how a doctor would talk. If a patient escaped from the hospital and you, as the doctor, are talking to their family member and have to be like, hey, they escaped from the hospital, you wouldn't say she managed to give us the slip. Are you crazy? In the midst of all this, Christian and Anna are emailing about sex again. Who's surprised? Not me. Oh my God. This made me laugh. They're talking about like how she's coming back on Friday and then they're gonna hang out and they're gonna like, you know, boink. And he goes, I'll have to think of something extra special for my little freak. Christian is having more nightmares. Who gives a flying fuck? Anna is flying home from Georgia. Leila's husband has now decided to extort Christian for money for information about Leila. We are less than 100 pages from the end of the book. Why are we now getting plot? There has been no plot for the other 400 pages. Why now? So Anna got a job at a publisher called Seattle Independent Publisher, and she was very clear with Christian Christian that she did not want him to interfere with her work life. She was like, I want this to be my own thing. He's like, I'm a very powerful person. And she's like, I know, I want this to be my own thing. As soon as Anna tells him about the job that she got, he's like, okay, cool, I'm not gonna meddle. And then he goes in and is like, let's buy her company. Sounds a lot like meddling to me. Anna's back from Georgia. They boink in the sex room. He's wearing low-rise jeans again. And the next morning, they're talking about the contract. And like, let it go. The contract is not working. She is never gonna sign it. Anna is like, what happens if I break the rules? And he's like, I'll punish you. And she's like, well, what if I say no to you punishing me? He says, if you say no, you'll say no. I'll have to find a way to persuade you. That is not consent. It's just not. One day, I will be able to get through one video on one battery charge, but today was not that day. Anyway, so this is kind of when the trouble starts. Anna says to Christian, she's like, I will not agree to be your submissive until you like show me like the worst possible thing you could do to me. That feels like a bad idea. He belts her violently and aggressively, and then she's really angry about it. Obviously, it's almost like coerced consent is not consent. It's almost like when you pressure someone into doing something that they're not entirely comfortable with. It's not free and enthusiastic consent. Anna's like, you're sick and fucking twisted. And then she goes to her room. Christian comes in and is like, please don't hate me. He's like, why are you mad? And she's like, I'm really sorry. And he's like, why the fuck are you apologizing? And she's like, I asked you to do that. And he's like, yeah, you did. This is actually really upsetting. And then she's like, I'm in love with you, which is crazy because it has been 3 weeks. And then she's like, I actually can't do this. So she leaves. So now Christian is like all emo and sad, but I don't feel bad because he's the worst. And he's having nightmares again because he's like, when I slept next to her, I didn't have nightmares, but when I sleep by myself, I have nightmares. Guess what? I don't care. And also, every night after work, he asks his driver to drive him past Anna's house on the way home. Stalking king. Love that. So Christian has a therapy appointment. During this therapy appointment, his therapist is like, listen, clearly you're really sad that she broke up with you. And perhaps you could try to have a conventional, normal, non-BDSM relationship because this is what this girl wants. And you really like her. And like, maybe you could try it. And he was like, no, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. This is me. This is real. This is me. So Christian has this like dream flashback about his mom overdosing in front of him when he was like 4. And it's very traumatic. And also, I didn't mention this in this book. It doesn't really come up in this book, but it really sort of comes up in a big way in the original trilogy, and I just didn't talk about it. The reason why Christian is so attracted to Anna is because she looks like his mom. Boo. He tells his assistant to cancel all of his social engagements. He doesn't really feel like doing anything. Except the only one he tells his assistant not to cancel is the photography show that he was supposed to go to with Anna. So he emails her and is like, hey, we still on for Jose's photography show? And Anna is like, sure. And he sends her flowers like in honor of her first day of work. And she's like, thanks for the flowers. So they're like mending their relationship. And so he picks her up and they helicopter to the photography show. And he also, like, I think gives her a mixtape. And then the end. Okay, final thoughts. The plot of the original trilogy, it's already pretty much non-existent. However, I do think that, like, getting more of Christian's perspective, in theory, don't hate me, I think it could be interesting. He's, like, a really messed up kind of guy. And, like, hearing a little bit more about why he is the way that he is and, like, what he is thinking throughout all this, I could be interested in that. However, it's so poorly written and adds nothing that it really, truly was not worth my time. How do you fail on, like, such a fundamental level about all that a book is meant to be? Like, if a book is poorly written, I can forgive it if it's entertaining. And if a book is super well written, I don't really care if it's boring because I'm like, it's like a piece of art. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say because, like, read literally anything else. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for listening to my incoherent, sickly ramblings. As always, there are some links in the description. There's my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want to hang out in between videos. There's also a suggestion box. Also, go do yourself and everyone around you a favor and watch the Eeny Meeny music video by Sean Kingston and Justin Bieber.